All right, thank you so much, Lillian, Wahiga, and Yvonne back in studio. And of course, the activity continues here at the Bomas of Kenya. The different agents are here to witness the verification exercise of all the results declaration forms from the polling stations. And of course, looking at them against what they have already worked on. And this exercise has been going on since yesterday. And so far, we've seen some 24 constituencies already verified and announced by the commission. And of course, it's been such a slow process. Remember that the day began with just Webuye East having been verified and announced. That was done sometime last night, just before the country went to sleep. But so far, they've gotten to the level of 24 constituencies, and the process continues. But also, there has been quite a lot of activity here for different agents from the two, especially the two key sides, that is Kenya Kwanza and Azimio la Umoja. They've been here getting to interact with each other. And of course, there has been a bit of drama, if I may call it so, of a lot of suspicion that is going on. At some point, one of the leaders from one of the sides was caught at a situation where they had a document that they wanted to walk out of the Bomas of Kenya with, but after verification, it was found that it was just an innocent document, not worth the concern. But it also tells you the kind of situation that they have to go through as they continue to verify. But my colleague Francis Gashuri has been here the entire day since 9 a.m. and has been able to witness most of the situations that it would be fair, Francis, for you to tell us what exactly you've been witnessing. Of course, we know the official process that is going on, but also the sort of engagement and interaction the two sides have had to do with each other.
Sam, this is it can also be a very emotive situation, a very emotive affair. And every so often we've seen flare-ups of emotions. And you can understand the high pressure kind of a situation that this is, because everybody that you speak to, they tell you these are our numbers. You talk to the Kenya Kwanza team here at the Bomas of Kenya, they tell you these are our numbers. You talk to the Azimio team, they tell you we have it. So at this point, during the promo we said until the fat lady sings, and so that fat lady, then the assumption is that it is IEBC, because even though everybody says they have their numbers, everybody is waiting for IEBC to declare those numbers here, and that's why sometimes you can see that level of mistrust among the agents of the two main presidential candidates. And every time they sense that there is something that probably is untoward, you see some emotions rising. Right. Like in two instances that have, of course, been the talk of the viewers and everybody who has been watching TV on what has been happening. Two incidents. One, in the morning there was a lady who had a laptop, and the assumption was that there was some monkey business that was being played, and I heard the Azimio team say hacking or something like that, you know, and it took the intervention of the IEBC commissioners and the security officers to come and take away the laptop, so that it can be, you know, scanned and they search whether there is anything untoward. And that's when Professor Gulia made an announcement that each team will be allowed to come with a laptop just to help them to download the forms, because you can imagine the 46,000 plus forms will be on the portal, and so you need to download them just for purposes of comparison. That matter was dealt with at that point. Right. Then the second time you saw the flare up, because the Azimio team was claiming that Gladys Sholei was getting in and out of the auditorium floor, and they were saying she's interfering, and so the commissioners had to come back again and restore calm and make sure, tell everybody that, hey, relax, time is of essence. Right. Remember, this process has 7 days, I mean, cast in stone, from the date of the election to the final day that IEBC Chairman Wafula Chebukati can declare the presidential results. Right. So time is of essence. So anytime a situation arises that stalls the process, and it has to be addressed in terms of trying to calm down everybody, 20-30 minutes are lost. And you can imagine, Sam, as you rightly put it, between last night and tonight, more than 24 hours later, only 24 constituencies have been dealt with. Only 24 forms have been dealt with. So even if you're to tabulate it that way, then it would mean one form 34B per hour. And you have 290. If that was to be the pace, then you would require about 290 hours, which there isn't anyway. So time is of essence, and that's why the teams are being encouraged to cooperate and not to interrogate the returning officers per se. Just look at the documents, and if you find any anomalies, identify them, pick them out so that they can be addressed.
And early in the morning, we saw Wafula Chebukati getting a bit furious and saying that agents are interfering with the process, and even saying that they were going to add the tables and also ensure that every returning officer spends a maximum of 15 minutes. Has that worked, and have the extra tables worked?
I think 15 minutes was over-ambitious in my opinion, because if that was the case, then 15 minutes per form would have done almost 100 forms by now. Because I mean, we've been here since 9 a.m. in the morning when I joined this shift. And from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. now, those are many hours. If you're to go with the 15 minutes per form directive by Wafula Chebukati, would be going almost to near 200 forms by now. But that is not the situation. That tells you how tedious this process is, because everybody is insisting on a meticulous auditing, verification, validation of the form, and to pick out any anomalies that may be there so that they can be addressed. Right. As it is now, the 15 minutes directive is not working, pretty and simple. Put it at maybe 30-40 minutes per form, which is still quite a huge amount of time. Even sometimes even almost an hour per form. Right. There were four tables initially. The tables were increased to 8. Right. The chief agents were insisting on 12 tables so that the process can move a little faster. If you have 12 forms being sorted out at any given time, then that process would move a little faster. But as it is now, you can imagine it is 8 forms being dealt with at any given time. The commissioners plus the IEBC chairman, the maximum number of forms they have, the maximum number of results they have announced at any given time, at any given briefing is 3.
Right.
Yeah, 3. That is the maximum I've seen so far. So it can tell you how long it is taking to verify and validate at least one form. And going by those calculations, then this process, even the whole of tomorrow, I assume they will still be here.
And then the other thing is about when you look at the forms that have been uploaded to the portal, the Form 34Bs, I got an opportunity to look at Webuye East and also Ndia constituency. So you look at the form uploaded, you compare that against the results that have been announced by Wafula Chebukati, they actually tally. It's actually the same thing. So then for the Kenyan, how do they understand what exactly these officials of IEBC and the agents are having to go through so that it takes so much time?
But you see, this is where the challenge is, and I remember discussing it this morning. Basically, what was happening at the polling stations has been transferred to the constituency tallying, to the National Tallying Center at the Bomas of Kenya. Why do I say so? Because each of the returning officer is coming with 2 sets of form 34B, 1. If your constituency has, let's say, 300 polling stations, you're also coming with 300 forms 34A. So you can imagine, you bring your form for validation. Of course, they have to identify that form and see whether it tallies with the serial number and everything else. Before now, they allow you to get into the verification stage. So each of the returning officers is coming accompanied with such a heavy load of documents. Right. And then the agents who are seated in that table have to be given those forms so that they go via the forms one after another. And so you see you're comparing 3 sets of forms. 1, the original Form 34A that has come. 2, the Form 34A that was loaded onto the portal. Right. And 3, Form 34B. So that you see whether this Form 34A, the original one, is tallying with the one that was posted on the portal, and eventually, cumulatively, whether all these forms 34A, the tally is reflected in the Form 34B. So that explains how long it is taking and why it is taking that long. Of course, some constituencies have more polling stations than others. Some have 300, some have 200, some have 100 and something. So let's say one constituency that has 100 polling stations, the process will be faster than the one that has 300. So that explains why some of them are taking a little faster than the others.
And the other thing that I had from the side of the Commission is them explaining to Kenyans that our system is safe. There has been no interference. We knew that there would be attempts to intrude into the system. What was that about, and why are those sentiments coming from the Commission?
There were serious allegations that were made earlier that there was a process of intercepting the forms when they were being transmitted from the polling stations to the portal. Yeah, there was an allegation that they were being intercepted and being replaced by others, and so that is the explanation that the commissioners were giving. That together with the CEO Hussein Marjan, he was trying to explain that no one has attempted to, no one has successfully managed to get into the system. Obviously, for a process like this one, you have all manner of people doing all manner of things. I mean, people would want to interfere into the process, get into it, make amendments here and there, make changes here and there. If the assurance by the CEO is anything to go by, then he says no interference has gone into the system. But of course now it is up to the agents who are seated here to tell us whether the Form 34A, the original one that is coming with the returning officers, as they were being given by the presiding officers, is exactly that which has been posted on the portal. Because they normally then would be detected if the Form 34A that has come with the returning officer is any different from that which was posted onto the portal by the presiding officer.
Right. All right, and of course, Lilian, Wahiga and Yvonne, what we know is that for this process, if the officials here and the agents are able to identify any mistakes or errors, then their responsibility is not to change any detail that is contained in Form 34A. Instead, their work is to just note those errors in some form that is called error form, and that is to be submitted to the Supreme Court in case there is a petition against this presidential election once it is determined. So it's a question of wait and see, but also to tell you that so far what we've seen, even in the presence of these bombers of Kenya, there has been a lot of security that you will find all the way from the gate coming all the way into the auditorium. It's not just everyone that can access this facility. Actually, there are different clearances, security clearances. There are people that can get into the auditorium. Yeah. There are actually people that can go to the floor. There are people that can only come to within the auditorium, maybe to go have some refreshments or somewhere.
Actually, when you look at the forms, when you look at the badges, Sam, and I want to demonstrate one to our viewers. Yes. Other than what you see here as a form, behind it is a card that has a microchip, and so you're using it to scan the door so that it opens for you. So basically, without this, you will not be able to access both the gate, the main gate at the Bomas of Kenya, and even the auditorium. And this badge also has various colors. For security is red, for the observers it is clearly written, for the chief agent it's clearly written. So like for example, with my badge, I cannot access the floor of the auditorium. Right. There's so much that there's such a far distance that you can go. For example, even from where we are, you cannot access some parts of this very same auditorium that you are in, and goes to show how seriously this process is being taken. Actually, the security process in this exercise is being supervised and coordinated by none other than the Deputy Inspector General of Police, Gabo, who is in charge of the administration police. That shows you the intensity, not even an OCPD or a county commander, the Deputy Inspector General himself, falling short of bringing the Inspector General of Police here to manage the process.
Such an important national exercise, and of course ours is just to wait for the process to be concluded so that Kenyans can know who their next president will be, and as soon as we know that, we'll be in a position to let you know, but also to indicate that the 7 days, there has been contestation, people saying they should lapse on Monday, they should lapse on Tuesday. Is there an agreement on that?
I would think it's Monday because it's 7 days from the date of the general election. So if we held the election on Tuesday, so you were to count 7 days, then it would mean Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday and Monday. Then that would be 7 days Monday. But anyway, I mean, the law is very clear.
All right, the law is very clear. So
I don't know how clear it is. Sometimes when you say it's clear, the more you say it's clear, the more it becomes unclear. But some suffice to say, if so far 24 Forms 34B have been dealt with, and you have 290. So quick math tells me that you still have 266 to go, plus one for the diaspora. So put it 267. And 24 hours you've dealt with 24 forms, and you have 266 to go.
And when I look around, there's no more space of adding any other table.
Hey. Maybe you can add a little bit where the security officers are standing, or maybe displace a few people. Yeah. But basically this goes to show you the enormity of the work that remains, that which has been done and that which remains to be done, if the 7-day deadline was to be met. But you see, IEBC has no option. they have to play within the 7-day rule because it's a constitutional requirement. Short of that, then you would invite many other constitutional issues, constitutional questions that probably lawyers can help us explain. But be it as it may, 7 days is the deadline. It's up to IEBC and the agents to cooperate. And the more issues come up and the more drama, if you may like it, erupts on the auditorium, then the more time is spent dealing with those issues as opposed to dealing with the nitty-gritties of the forms, which I think is the core business of this verification and validation process.
Indeed, that's why we're also here. And of course, it's very important to know that because also we know that Wafula Chebukati already promised that this time round they will want to announce the results during the day. So if it's not the last day on Monday during the day, then he might be in trouble based on his promise.
Well, you see, there's a precedence. There's a history to that. Dark times or dark hours are not the best to announce this kind of results. If you know, you know. So it is important to do it during the day so that everybody is able to see whatever happens. And some for presidential election as close as this one, anything that happens we must not only have a free and fair exercise, but that which is also seen to be free and fair. If you're to do things in a manner that would elicit feelings or reactions of an opaque kind of a process, then you would discredit the whole exercise. And remember, we're also coming from a short 5 years since another presidential election was held, and the results were nullified by the Supreme Court. And so IEBC, trying to learn from those lessons of 2017, you have to do everything possible to make sure that the results are not nullified, because you can imagine what that means to the economy, what that means even to the very voters who have to spend another time, another day, another period of campaigning, and so on and so forth. So you want to do everything right. And remember, IEBC took the stick in 2017 because of what was seen as illegalities and irregularities. So that is some of those things that you see here are as the result of the issues that were raised in 2017 petition. And the most memorable for me, because I covered that petition, was when Justice Mwilu and the other judges were asking the IEBC lawyers, were those results verified? Did the chairman verify them before announcing them? So that which is happening here is part of responding to that question. Has the chairman verified and validated those results before announcing them? Of course, the chairman of IEBC cannot be expected to sit here and verify each form. That is being done on his behalf by members of staff in the presence of the agent, so that no one will later say we didn't see the verification and the validation happening. Right. So some of the questions that were raised in 2017 petition are some of the reasons why you see this kind of a process happening there. Quite an elaborate one, but let's see how it goes.
And actually, Francis, I was speaking to one of the ambassadors from some European country that I will not name for the sake of their confidence, but he was saying that they have a good democracy, but they don't have this level of scrutiny where everyone sits down to look at what has been tabulated, whether it's electronically or whether it's through a manual process. So it could be a good thing for the country, despite the tedious and the long hours that they have to go through.
But there's a good answer for that, because we are dealing with mistrust, nothing else. All these processes that we go through are as a result of mistrust. When you hear of allegations there was an attempt to infiltrate the system, numbers are being questioned, we don't know what happened in some places here and there, it's a question of mistrust. Even you very rightly said, some of the forms that have been uploaded are exactly the numbers that have been announced here. Right. So it tells you, if you are to trust the process and trust each other, the players to trust each other, the process would move faster. But this is a scenario where everybody suspects the other is planning some sinister things against the other. Correct. So you have to, everybody becomes a suspect. So you are suspecting your competitor and your competitor is suspecting you. So that being the case, that suspicion can only be dealt with here at the auditorium through the validation.
Correct. And the final thing that we want to tell you, Lillian, is that even the commission itself, they have managed how they speak to the country. They are now having to speak from the podium up there. They're saying that they cannot come to address media briefings such as this. They cannot come here to answer some of our questions because they want to control that and be in a position to ensure that whatever goes out is something that is within their reach, so that they also don't end up saying some few things that will put them in some trouble.
Absolutely. And you see, this is a period where everything is being looked at and being listened to keenly. So whatever a commissioner says in an interview will be subjected to a lot of scrutiny, such that in the event something happens, people will say, but the commissioner so-and-so said this. So that's why they have reduced the level of communication to two things. One, announcing the results, and two, making any other communication that they find necessary. Like, for example, Commissioner Gulia is in charge of this whole process of verification and validation. Even when their emotions run high, it is Commissioner Gulia who is going to the podium to ask people to relax, because I think there's also division of labor and specialization. So each commissioner being accorded a responsibility based on their ability to handle certain situations. Right. So for Professor Gulia, is in charge of this process of verification and validation. And it can be quite emotive, but there's a way he's also addressing the agents with some level of finality and firmness, which I think is necessary, because if you are to allow a lot of, because you see, you're also dealing with politicians. Exactly. In this auditorium are politicians, and so you have to deal with the politicians in a language that they would understand, but at the same time maintaining the independence of the commission. Listen to them, but at the same time not allow them to dictate the process and how it will be done. Otherwise, we may spend a lot of time here and maybe turn this auditorium into one huge campaign rally. Okay.
All right, and Lillian, Wahiga and Yvonne, that's the match that we have for now. We'll be sure to let you know any developments that we get from this side, but we're still waiting for the for the next round of announcements and declarations, especially for the results that have been verified, so that we continue to pile up and reduce those that are yet to be announced here at the IEBC Bomas of Kenya Auditorium, the National Tallying Center. Back to you in studio.
Sam Gituku and Francis Gachuri at the National Tallying Center burning the midnight oil. As you can see, a flurry of activity behind them there. Security deployed around the tally floor is tight. And Sam Gituku and Francis Gachuri have told us that this particular area, the central part of the auditorium, is out of